I am a super picky person when it comes to choosing the right monitor to pair with my Macs, and I also like them as bright as they come as well. But for years, no third-party displays really did it for me, and believe me, I tried them over and over again without any success. This is ultimately why I opted for Apple's Studio and Pro displays in my personal setups for their stellar sharpness, but more importantly, their S-tier brightness that you really can't get with other third-party panels. But as you probably know, these Apple displays cost you an arm, a leg, and maybe even your right kidney. But in all seriousness, if I wasn't some Apple-crazed, nutty YouTuber, or more so just a niche, high-end media production kind of guy, I can't say I'd recommend them at all or call them practical despite how much I love them. That's why when BenQ reached out and wanted me to test their affordable $600 display that they've designed specifically with Macs in mind, I was really excited to see if it stacks up to Apple's ludicrous displays. And you know what? For once in my life, I can actually say, yes, it does. And for so much less too, which is just phenomenal. So in this video, we're going to go over why this MA320U BenQ 32-inch 4K display here is, for most intents and purposes, a pretty stellar studio or pro display killer. First up, this display is just built so well. While it's not crafted out of metal, it's still very sturdy, but more importantly looks minimal and Apple-esque, but in a uniquely BenQ way. I really enjoy its silver finish that closely matches my silver M4 MacBook Pro and M4 Mac Mini. There's also a fixed rubber pad at the base of the monitor stand, which is another nice touch and serves as a secure spot to place some accessories you want close by for easy access. As for display height and adjustment though, the stand telescopes up and down, enabling you to raise the display to a very respectable height, and of course also lower it if that's more your style. The stand also allows you to rotate the display 90 or 270 degrees like you can with the Pro display if portrait setup is a must for you. I've also spruced up the whole situation by fixing two LED bars on the back of the display for backlighting, one at the back/bottom, and one at the top of the telescoping stand with controls attached to the back for easy access. Beyond the design aspects though, the 32-inch screen size and 4K resolution are fantastic as well. It's no 5K or 6K, but let's face it, you probably don't need these resolutions and you're not going to get them for any less than like $2 billion American. Jokes aside though, 4K at this size is still plenty sharp and works well for productivity, creative tasks, and for spreading your UI out in split or quad window setups. I also recommend 1440p scaling for the best blend of UI space or screen real estate and overall sharpness. And like the Studio and Pro displays, this panel is 60 Hz, which is not an issue at all for non-gaming or productivity related tasks, although I gotta say I really enjoyed my Java Minecraft with shaders experience on this panel, so go figure. But what about brightness? I was raving about this in the intro, and for good reason. I wanted to designate a separate portion of this video to discussing brightness and also display color in a moment here. Again though, the brightness with this monitor is just the best, especially considering its $600 price point. It maxes out at 550 nits in SDR conditions, much like, or if not better than, the beloved and now discontinued 5K iMac, which had a chokehold on me for a while simply because it had a gorgeous, very bright display. It can also deliver 600 nit HDR if you choose to enable it, which is quite nice. These figures are also on par with the standard brightness of the Studio and Pro displays, along with newer MacBooks as well, which makes a world of a difference and makes this display feel a lot more expensive than it actually is. The brightness is also paired with 97% DCI-P3 color accuracy and BenQ's Max color tuning tech, which results in a panel with colors that are very accurately reflecting what you're seeing with your Max display color-wise, so you can work off both displays with more confidence and consistency. And still somewhat on the topic of brightness, you can actually control it along with volume on your Max keyboard thanks to their iKeyboard control feature. This is a godsend because quite often with third-party displays you have to use the built-in display controls, which is never a fun time. And speaking of audio, there's built-in speakers as well, which actually sound pretty decent. This is great if external speakers are not in the budget or you just want to keep your setup cleaner and use headphones more, which you can do with this display's built-in audio jack that's found under its bottom bezel. But something possibly even cooler is BenQ's FocusSync feature, which syncs the display's settings to your different macOS focus modes, allowing you to have different presets like a low blue light mode depending on which focus mode is enabled, like sleep mode for example, which again is just so sick. And for the record, the following functions are accessible with BenQ software, DisplayPilot 2, which can be downloaded from their website linked below. Moving on to connectivity though, I'm happy to report that it's equally as great as the display panel itself here. First up, you get a USB-C port for display and 90-watt charging pass-through, which is amazing if you own a higher-end MacBook Pro that needs the juice. It also keeps your MacBook or USB-C device charging even if the display turns off, which is super underrated and much appreciated. As for the other ports though, you get an additional data-only USB-C port with 15-watt charging, which is ideal for your iPhone or iPad or another device if you want to charge them. You also get two USB-A 3.0 ports, one on the back and one underneath the bottom bezel for additional data connectivity for drives and dongles, which is pretty convenient. And finally, you get two HDMI 2.0 ports, which are super useful for connecting a MacBook Pro, a Mac Mini, or a Mac Studio, and a console or PC if you want, so you can consolidate your setup all in one place. But anyway, with all this said, the BenQ MA320U is quite literally the best monitor you can buy for your Mac that isn't made by Apple, and luckily you're paying way less than half of what the base tilt-adjustable only studio display costs, and of course a tiny fraction of what the completely ridiculous but equally sized Pro Display XDR costs. I probably already said this too, but I'll say it again. If I wasn't who I was and I didn't do what I did professionally or creatively, where I can justify, being a snob, or more so having all this ludicrous tech around me, more easily than a more typical prosumer or consumer could or can, this BenQ here would in fact be my monitor of choice. Again, I've tried Dells, LGs, and more, and in my opinion, they all sucked. But this one, it's a rare 10 out of 10 considering what it is and what it costs. And that about wraps everything up here. Thanks for watching, and thanks to BenQ for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. I'll leave a link to this display and their website down below if you're interested in checking any of this out. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.